Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to one of the best posts I've ever seen from DNA 3000 regarding the Banquet Realm event wrap-up. What do the numbers say? We're not going to read all of it because it's just way too long of a post. But we are going to go through some highlights of it in this video for you. He says, just going to start out by saying there's been a lot of discussion about the structure and rewards and communication surrounding the Banquet. This is not going to touch any of those subjects. There are plenty of threads doing that. It's really going to focus on the numbers and what the numbers say, period. So he wanted to focus analysis, and like he says here, when it takes some time to really think about what the numbers were saying and not just dump a bunch of calculations. So here we go. How many players actually participated in the event? Only requirements would be conquer or above. Open at least one Banquet crystal. Isn't easy to figure out how many players this was. But shout out Rich the Man. He says total number of participating players in a range of between 500,000 and 750,000. So 1 million active players, 215,000 below proven. That's interesting. 235,000 proven, 550,000 conquer and above. So strongly suggest the median MCC player is uncollected. That's what my free-to-play account is. Of course, these numbers include all active players, including players that might have just downloaded the game. We'll play for a few days, then quit. Probably near Cavalier, likely to stick around. He says, now the big banana, how much revenue did the Banquet generate? Very tricky and requires a significant amount of judgment being applied to relatively little hard data he has. First, you need to find some estimated point distribution across the participants. Create a historic pigeonhole lower bound estimate for the total amount of points scored by different people. We're going to skip this part of the analysis. Bottom half scored 5,655 points or less. How much can I say precisely because they have no data below about that score? But I still can make some interesting statements about those players. Average point score of 4,284 points for the bottom half of the players. Scoring doesn't keep dropping like a stone down there. Participation is hard at the top because you have to spend money in units, but scoring at the bottom is easy because most of the crystals are free. That makes sense. Now, most of those crystals were likely bought with units earned in game. And in fact, a few were purchased with cash. Most players don't spend on mobile games. Industry average is between 3% and 5%. MCOC is converting several times more players. 5% of all the participants are likely generating revenue for MCOC because only that many ever spend. That's a statement that I think is as telling as anything in this post. About 5% of all the participants are likely generating revenue for MCOC because only that many ever spend. MCOC spender ratio for its most active players might be significantly higher than that vanilla 5%. Remember, the participants to Banquet must be Conqueror or higher, which means they're among the top 75% of active players. So you keep scrolling down. And eventually, we have this paragraph. This means the amount of revenue those crystals could have generated was anywhere between 28.2 million and 56.3 million USD. Given the uncertainties involved, can't say much more than that. Average figure is still 47 million USD. My guess is that's not too far from the truth. So the majority is still via the in-game app purchase, which means that the App Store attacks from Apple and Google, Kabam, Netmarble makes $33 million from that. Call it $35 million. I mean, these are numbers that are pretty wild. Do you agree with them? That's the big question. I don't know. That's awfully high. Tells me that there's a lot of casual activity, very little evidence of players completely checking out of the event. A lot of free-to-play players get their free crystals, spend a small investment. Can't imagine them being terribly unhappy with the results. I don't know. You didn't check the forums then, I guess, during the last Kabam live stream. 35 million USD is a lot of money to get out of a spending population between 50,000 and 100,000 players. A lot of games would kill for that, although that number isn't necessarily better than previous years. MCC spending has declined over the years as the game has gotten older. Whether the 2024 Banquet will reverse the trend or not, we'll have to wait for February's Netmarble reporting to determine. So, a lot of info. Centurion says, I don't know if they pulled 35 million or so from the 2-week event, but that ain't bad. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that was a lot of information to go through in a small amount of time, but hopefully we got something out of this. What do you think, YouTube? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a good one.